I'm going to tell you right out of the gate here what I think by far the most intriguing K-State NFL draft storyline is. I love Wyatt Hubert. He's going to get drafted. That will be great. It's a local kid from Topeka that came through the program, made it to the NFL. There's a lot that will be awesome about that. But to me, it pales in comparison to the intrigue of what happens with Briley Moore. I think that is the most intriguing and potentially the draftee with the most upside to help the program out. And I'm going to tell you why here in just a second. Welcome into the game. John Kurtz, Mitch Fortner. You can tweet us at JL Kurtz, at Mitch the Fort, or at the game KMAN, whichever it is that you would prefer. So I went into today and this week thinking that Briley Moore had a chance to get drafted, not 100% sure where exactly that was going to be, and started to dig a little bit today at what I was seeing, and I had seen some 6th round, which didn't shock me. I felt like, honestly, I would be surprised if he got drafted, but just a slight surprise. I think he's pretty borderline. Well, today I found this from Chris Sims, who is about as respected an NFL analyst as it seems like there is out there these days. He's become a very big deal, the former Texas quarterback. And he listed out his top 5 tight ends for the 2021 draft. Lo and behold, Briley Moore checks in at number 5. Number 5, and he is really high because of the fact that Briley can both block and catch.
I thought his blocking was special. It was up there with really who I would say is the top blocker who just misses the top 5 for me in this is Hunter Long, the Boston College tight end, right?
Yeah.
Man, the thing that jumped out to me more than anything was the way he plucks the ball out of the air, but then, with the ball in his hand, he was special. He was a good route runner, got good feet, hips to disconnect the upper body, the lower body to throw DBs off and do that, and then had something to him after the catch. I mean, he was a real legit yards after catch tight end. Reminded me of Mark Andrews.
My guy, Briley Moore, being talked up by Chris Sims. I just want to throw that out there. And now looks like could be a draftee. And it's not that Wyatt Hubert won't help the program to have somebody else to promote. You definitely want that. But I think there's more meat on the bone for Briley being that guy. Because Briley was somebody that was brought in out of the transfer portal. And what is now the focus of everybody in college football, K-State obviously included, it's the transfer portal. K-State hit it hard with a tight end, first of all, a Briley Moore replacement, and 6 kids overall still looking for more. We also just recently heard this about what Chris Klieman's strategy is going to be in the portal, this coming from Gene Taylor.
I think coaches are going to learn to adjust and recruit differently. I think I maybe mentioned it to you guys or somewhere where, when I talked to Coach Klieman, he's got 25 scholarships. He's probably going to hold 15 for high school kids and 10 for the transfer portal.
So if you're taking 10 spots a year for kids out of the portal and devoting 40% of your typical class to it, it is obviously very important to you. Well, what better ammunition to have if you're trying to go get kids in the portal than saying, hey, look, we just took this guy in your same shoes, brought him in through the portal, had a great experience with our program, has nothing but great things to say on his way out, and now he's an NFL draft pick. You can do it too. We have put guys into the NFL through our program. And this would be a Chris Klieman all on his own. This is not Wyatt Hubert, who was recruited by Bill Snyder. This is somebody that Klieman went out and got, took through the program, pumped him out as an NFL draft pick. I think that holds some value. We always debated what's the value of the NFL draft streak. And I thought there was still a pretty good... I would still contend that thing had a lot of value until the day that it died. Unfortunately, it's no longer there. But I would say that this has more importance because the portal is becoming huge, and now you can take this directly to guys and say, look, just last year, just 2 years ago, just 3 years ago, whatever it may be, we had this guy come through, and our program elevated him. And obviously that plays really well to guys that are at the FCS level. And I think that's going to become a huge part of the portal. I mean, one of the big targets K-State chased, it was the kid that wound up going to Nebraska. I think was he from like Montana? It was a receiver. FCS kid. So if you can now go to one of the better players at an FCS school, the next Briley Moore, and you can say, all right, hey, Northern Iowa, he's probably not going to poach North Dakota State, but, like Northern Iowa, Eastern Washington, one of the FCS powers, you go to him and say, look, man, first of all, you might know me. You might have heard of me. That whole North Dakota State thing that's going on, I started it. I know what it's like to be an FCS player in your shoes. I know exactly what that life is like because I lived that life for a long time at the highest of level. I also have taken a kid in your spot, brought him through my program, and elevated him to the point where he became an NFL draft pick because we featured him in our offense. He was a great cultural fit. I run the kind of culture that obviously works at the FCS level. You're going to be welcomed. I get you. I understand you, and I know where it is that you want to go because these kids' eyes are always on the prize, man. It's the mouse chasing down the cheese. Like, they know exactly where they're trying to go. They're trying to go to the NFL. So you can say, if you're Klieman, hey, top FCS prospects, I was there. I understand the position you're in. My program is very conducive to you. Come play for me, and I've proven that I can put you in the NFL. I love that message. Now, it doesn't have to be, I guess, that Briley gets drafted. Obviously, he could go make an impact still. But I think it plays a lot better. Even if it is 6th or 7th round, it plays a lot better to be able to say, hey, we had a draft pick here than some guy who made it on his own undrafted free agent. That's, having NFL players produce for you is great, whether they were drafted or not. But I do think that makes a difference, whether or not his name is actually called during the draft. So that is really why this is very intriguing to me. Very intriguing. And I think Briley could do the program a lot of good, especially as somebody who, he had a tweet the other day thanking K-State for the time of his life and all that. Just speaks very highly of the program. Like, this is somebody who had a good experience, can speak to it, and now can go put his name out there on the NFL draft stage.
Well, I mentioned, I think it was last week, maybe 2 weeks ago, I thought, trying to recruit the transfers, I think, was kind of getting a little bit more important than getting some high school guys in. Obviously, you want to bring in some really good talent on the high school side of football. But when a transfer comes in, you're not going to recruit somebody and they're not going to play. You're expecting these guys to play. Briley Moore, obviously, as a senior, is going to play. He was going to be the guy. And I was just checking out his measurements. I was kind of curious about his pro day. He had a pretty good pro day. He was above average in a lot of categories. So Chris Klieman, he found a guy that is from his area, Northern Iowa. He knows how to recruit there, knows how to recruit the FCS level. He found the right guy with that kind of talent, NFL talent, to come to Manhattan and be potentially the poster, I don't want to use poster child, but like the poster guy to show the future. Now, look, this guy worked his way back from an injury. He showed off his talents at the FBS level, Big 12 play, and now he's about to have a big opportunity to be in the NFL. There is such huge potential, and I like a guy like Briley Moore to be the first. Transfer portal, FCS, come to Manhattan, about to work his way hopefully in the NFL. That is a really good first step for Coach Klieman.
Yeah, because I think it will become a natural evolution to how teams recruit. Like, you have to adjust and shift your recruiting pitches to how it is that you can sell guys in the portal that this is the right place to come. Now, like any recruit, there's going to be, on an individual basis, different selling points there and different things that can work. But more and more, it's always been that guys want to get to the NFL, but especially more and more now when it's, I get it, the younger generation, more instant gratification like that. That's what they're thinking of. Like Josh Youngblood, when he came in as a freshman, was always talking about, I'm going to be here for 3 years. It's going to be great. I'm going to be here for 3 years. Like, that was just his expectation out of the chute. Like, that part is of more importance almost now than ever because kids think about that more and they're not as concerned about like growing and developing. They just want to get to the NFL, right? So being able to have that and shift that and piece that together as a part of your pitch to kids that would be coming to you through the portal, I think is very important. And I think it does matter. Look, if you're an LSU and you're just sending everybody to the league, obviously that's going to play with guys in the portal. They'll look at it and be like, hey, I could definitely get to the league there. But a place like K-State, if you can break it down and specify it more like that and say, look, we've had specific success with sending guys from the portal, getting a second start, a fresh start, elevating their brand. we've had success with getting them to the NFL. I think that holds a lot of value here at a place that's not always going to be just a professional football factory.
Well, and K-State has had their generational handful amount of stars in the NFL. I'm not saying Briley Moore is going to go out there and be just a huge star right away, but it's also not uncommon for Chris Klieman to get out there and throw out a name that he's recruited, he's coached, and now worked their way into the NFL. Carson Wentz is a name that is thrown around all the time as a guy that he personally coached. It was his guy, and now he's in the NFL as a starter, playing in the NFL as a quarterback. And a lot of people know his name. He's proven that he could be a winner, maybe not this last season. But anyway, Briley Moore could be that next step into continuing that style of recruiting. Name recognition. You've heard of this guy, played in the NFL. I coached him. I brought him in. I had a hand in turning him into a guy that can perform at a high level.